Let me just quickly tweet out the links and then get started.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Pause.
Pause like that.
How you blessing another guy, bro?
Yeah, you're crazy.
I'm being dumb. I'm being dumb. I'm being dumb on purpose.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ringside Fracas. I'm your host Naeem, and today, look, we're going back to back. We had an episode yesterday for you with O'Hara Davis. Make sure that if you haven't checked that out, please go check it out. It was a very informative, very fun episode that we got into. Got to learn more about O'Hara, but also more about the industry and also more about certain things outside of boxing, like money. And also we got to get O'Hara's takes on stuff like, Bev Bivol, the 5v5, the 140-pound division. But the main thing that we're all here for today, and we had to get the special counsel involved for today, is what happened over the weekend. And let me introduce the special counsel. So first, we've got, obviously, Jide. There's a lot on this fight that you want to talk about. How have you been, brother? You're muted. So it's not a great start, is it?
I've been good, man. I've been good. My pick for the weekend didn't bang, but it be like that, man. I'm shocked. I'm not sad. I know I'm seeing some people say they're sad. My stocks were on Shakur. If it was Shakur that lost, I'd be real sad. Like that would be awful. But still, I expected Devin to show levels today or weekend, sorry, and he didn't. So I'm quite disappointed in that. But yeah, man, I've been good, man.
Yeah, and again, another chapter in this kind of amazing year that we're getting in boxing. Adam, we've been talking about it for quite a while. How have you been, bro?
I'm all good, man. I think I feel bad for Haney, but I think this makes the division a lot more exciting, and it gives Haney a good platform to bounce back from as well. I've always said fighters are made from how they bounce back from losses, not from going in and being undefeated. That's why I think a fighter is really made. So I'm excited to see how he bounces back. I'm positive he will bounce back, but it's kind of brought Garcia back into the mix, and the 140 division is looking very exciting right now.
Yeah, and also we have Mark joining us, special counsel Mark. We've got you joining us. How have you been, bro?
I'm all right, man. How are you?
Yeah, it's been a kind of, again, a storied week, hasn't it? Like big stories going on, big narratives now because of this fight that we're going into. So I'm gonna, let's talk about it. Ryan Garcia drops Devin Haney 3 times. Could have been more. On his way to a majority decision win. Didn't win the WBC belt because he didn't make weight, which again, I think another topic that we have to kind of get into as well. But I think a big upset that a lot of people weren't kind of expecting, especially us when you watched the preview pod last week, we weren't kind of expecting Ryan to win this unanimously across the board. It was a Devin Haney win. And Ryan pulled out the big upset, one of the biggest upsets of the year right now, and one of the biggest upsets, could be one of the biggest upsets in modern boxing. So let's get straight into it. Jide, I know you got a lot to say about Ryan Garcia beating Devin Haney. Fire away your thoughts about the fight and what transpired.
Shocked, man. Surprised. I feel like the boxing world is downplaying how much of a upset this was, especially how it transpired. It was shocking. The 7th round could have been stopped. Like Devin had a long count. So yeah, man, I'm shocked. Like I said in the chat, this has recalibrated how I viewed lightweights and their levels. I still feel like Devin is who he is, but didn't expect him to go out like that. So I feel like we said, like we spoke before, he felt the pressure of having to look good against a quote-unquote mental health patient. He felt pressure on having to look good against a quote-unquote C-level fighter. So he stayed in the pocket longer than he probably should have. took risks. It's like when he threw a left hook and it moved Ryan back, but it didn't really buzz him or hurt him. It just kind of like moved him back, and Ryan punched his gloves. I feel like Devin should have at that point realized maybe I should fight a different fight here. But it seems like Devin was determined to try to stop Ryan, determined to try push his will and impose his will on Ryan, and that was just never going to be the case. And I've always seen Devin, although he's gifted, I've always seen him as cerebral, as someone who's a thinker, as someone who realizes when one thing's not working, he's going to go to plan B. And that's when I say I got to recalibrate how I view Devin, because clearly he's not. Clearly he's a hothead. He's someone that if he feels he's getting embarrassed, instead of trying to win the fight, he tries to get his lip back. And I feel like that's what punished him. Ryan Garcia didn't do anything new. It didn't show me anything different. The guy was turning his back to Devin when he was getting attacked, which is illegal, and which also shows this guy has so many flaws. His chin was hanging in the air like always. He was telegraphing a lot of his shots. Again, he's a high-level boxer, so he's going to throw good 1-2s, or he might throw the right hand first before the left hook. But he was telegraphing a lot of these shots. It was so weird. What I think he done really well, and Derek James, I don't want to be bad-minding him because he's had a rough time. But he wasn't listening to Derek James, bro. He wasn't throwing jabs. He wasn't setting up a lot of his offense with the jabs. It was lazy jabs. But like I said with Adam, he knows Devin. Ryan knows Devin. And Ryan done one thing that I think was really good, which comes with him knowing Devin. He threw his punches with Devin. Every time he dropped Devin, if you noticed, it was coming off an exchange. They were exchanging. Not every time, but a couple times, like when he attacks Devin. And I feel like that's very smart because he knows Devin can't hurt him. So if Devin commits to the 1-2, which Devin likes to do, Devin wasn't throwing single shots. He was just like, okay, Devin throws the jab, Ryan cooks up his left hook, and he missed a few times, other times will land. One of the knockdowns, Ryan threw 3 consecutive left hooks and missed, and Devin didn't adjust once. That is just, again, showing me, Devin Haney, I thought you were a thinker. You're not going to throw 3 left hooks against Tank and not get away with it, which Ryan didn't. Ryan Garcia didn't get away with it against Tank Davis because Tank is a thinker. Although I call him what I call him and all them other things, Tank doesn't make those sort of mistakes consecutively. That's one thing you always give him credit for. Tank is also an elite counterpuncher, which Devin isn't. Devin is a great boxer at range, judging distance and getting in and out, taking that half step back. But he's not an elite. He's a good counter, but he's not an elite counterpuncher. But I thought when I was looking at that fight, it wouldn't have to be. He would just have to, like I said, because Ryan is left hook heavy, take the step back when Ryan throws his left hook, come over the top. He wasn't doing that. I was watching the fight. Obviously, I didn't watch it live because I like my sleep. But I watched in the morning and I'm like, I'm seeing these. I'm like, this is not Devin. These mistakes he was not doing against Progress. He was not doing against these men. But it's also because those guys didn't attack Devin the way Ryan did. Ryan rushed him. Like Devin will be winning the rounds, but Ryan will do the telling activities in those rounds because he will land something. It will hurt him, it will rattle him. So yeah, that's the tail of the tape for me. Like it was Devin going in there trying to make a point and then not adjusting, which I thought he should be great at adjusting. That's his bag. While Ryan knows who Devin is, as soon as he knew could hurt him, that's it. He just went for it. So and again, I'm not trying to take anything from Ryan. This is a great win. This is a great win. It propels him right up there, top of the division, clearly, because I thought Devin was the top of the division. So now Ryan is the top of the division. And the world is his oyster. He's not going to give Devin a rematch because I feel like he doesn't have to. And he's going to sell into the sunset. So it's great for the division. It mixes things up. T.O. versus Ryan looks great now. Ryan versus Javante rematch looks good now before they were talking about it. Now that can be made. PBC can make that now. They can make Ryan can do stuff at 147. You could, do you know what I mean? The potential matchups are still there, and as for Devin, luckily he's still got a belt. Now he's seen as a wounded animal, so he can definitely make great fights as well. Matthias is out there. He can Sandor Martin would definitely want to slice at him. He can fight Tio. He can. Do you know what I mean? It's opened up the division. A lot of things can happen. I just feel it's unfortunate for Devin because now that Gervonta fight is never going to happen. That's the unfortunate thing for Devin Haney. He needs to just forget about Gervonta now. And Gervonta, he needs to stop celebrating another man's win. That was what you should have done if you had the courage to take that fight. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, perfectly well summed up. And yeah, there's a lot, like we said before, there's lots of narratives that run, especially with big high-profile fights like this. There's a lot of storylines to kind of follow, and lots of questions that are now going to be asked, especially of Devin and Ryan as well, kind of what he can continue to offer. Adam, you kind of picked up last week that you said that because there's that given history behind them, and that it's 3-3, and maybe Ryan could do something that gets Devin kind of out of his shell and away from that defensive kind of mind that he's usually in. And it kind of went the way that you said, that you kind of put that thought out, and it kind of went that way. Your thoughts on how that fight went down and thoughts coming into reality.
Yeah, so my thoughts. So obviously I'm shocked at how the fight went, but I'm also not shocked. I always thought there was that possibility there. Haney didn't fight his usual fight. He kept coming forward and trying to make of it what you will. He was the aggressor for the most part, and it played into Ryan Garcia's hand, because whereas Haney is an expert usually at moving back and going in and out of range, this time he was coming into range and fighting a fight where he was trying to trade in the pockets. And the reason why this was such a big mistake is, number one, what Jide said. Ryan Garcia was timing Devin Haney. He's got the faster hands, so number one, he's going to land before Haney does when they're timing shots and exchanging in those pockets. And number two, the lack of power from Devin Haney was very apparent. He couldn't hurt Garcia at all, and it was just the perfect fight stylistically for Garcia to take advantage of. I think the biggest surprise of all was the lack of adjustment from Haney and his corner. It was very obvious for all of us to see what was happening and what was panning out. And they could have changed tactics and had Haney kind of revert to his usual style a bit more, but they didn't do that. And what Jide said, there was a point where Garcia threw 3 left hooks in a row, and there was just no adjustment at all from Devin Haney. I think that's the biggest shocking thing, especially for someone that we've always seen as a high IQ fighter. It was really disappointing. I don't think this is great for Garcia's confidence, and it kind of puts him on a platform where he's able to go and get other exciting fights. But I didn't see enough from Garcia in that fight to make me think he's a elite level fighter that's going to go pick up a title at 140. I don't see that. There's still quite a lot of dangerous men at 140 that I see beating Garcia and dealing with him quite easily. He might prove me wrong again, but I think if Garcia was to do this to any of the fighters at 140, it would have been Devin Haney. Another point, I did raise this up a few times previously before, even like a few months ago, and I've raised it again right after the fight. And that's Devin Haney actually fighting someone his size. He's always been someone that's cut weight drastically and rehydrated to a very large weight on the day, gaining 20 odd pounds or so. So he's always been the bigger fighter in the fights. And I know he isn't a bigger fighter in the sense that he uses his weight advantage for power punching, but he uses it in terms of just being the more lengthier fighter, staying in range, moving in and out. It's a very advantageous the way he uses his size. And fighting someone that's finally his size, more or less, he couldn't use those advantages in the same way. So I think there could be a few question marks with Devin Haney at 140 going forward. I think the fight with who's the other title holder at 140? Sorry, I forgot his name. Matthias.
Yeah, Matthias and Tio.
Yeah, Matthias. I think he could prove like a big problem for someone like Devin Haney, especially when he doesn't have the pop to kind of keep a person honest. He's just going to keep plowing forward. But I hope he bounces back, because I don't want to see a fighter take one loss and then kind of have his whole career spiral downward. I want to see him bounce back, defend his title, try unify with a Tio or whatnot, and move forward from there. But a few question marks over that performance, most definitely.
Yeah, and me and Jide, and you obviously picked up on this point. We were talking about this before the pod started, that there's also an element of the rivalry between them that kind of maybe made Haney want to do more and show more in this fight, along with obviously the build-up that when that happened. The way he was talking about Ryan, that he's a C-level fighter, so maybe there was that undue pressure on himself that he put on himself that he has to look better, and maybe that's also a reasoning to why he didn't look like he was in his defensive shell as much as he normally is. Mark, this is probably Ryan Garcia's best win. It is definitely Ryan Garcia's best win, and probably one of his better performances to date. How shocked were you on Saturday night?
I wasn't shocked at all, honestly. Like, just the way everything was like sort of like coming together or merging together, I just felt like there was just something brewing. And we all know that Garcia carries a decent amount of power, especially with the left hook. If it's not a check left hook, it's the hook to the body. And one thing we know about Devin is that he's very frail around the whiskers. Like, Linares showed it, and Linares was sort of going into like the twilight of his career. And in Devin's previous fights, like whether it be Loma or whoever, or even Cambosa's, like, there are times where he does get touched and he does give you an opportunity to get to him. So I just thought, like, my thinking was, if Ryan gets to him or just touches him, especially with the power that he carries, he may do a funny dance. But I just didn't expect it to sort of transpire the way it did, man. Like, if anything, I'm disappointed with Devin, just in the sense that he allowed like his ego and sort of everything around the fight to sort of overcloud and sort of create a game plan that he shouldn't have. Like, he was so fixated on trying to stop Garcia and whatnot, he put together the wrong game plan. I reckon if he boxed the way he boxed against Prograis, he would have had more of a chance of like stopping him, just because of the way he was like putting his shots together against Prograis, the sharpness and whatnot. But listen, Devin's not going to walk down anyone. If I was a fighter at 140 and Devin tried to walk me down, I would laugh in his face. I would actually laugh. I would laugh in his face. Like, Devin does not have the innate like sinisterness or like
Doesn't have the tools
or spite to walk someone down and hurt them. He just doesn't.
Power, or doesn't have the power. That's the main thing.
He doesn't even have like. He just doesn't have the innate killer mentality to stop someone. Like, I can't remember the last time I've seen him stop someone. It would have been around like 6-7 fights ago.
I think it was Zal Abdullayev on the in Russia. Was it Russia? It was like on some random Matchroom card. He when he won the WBC interim belt, which was
that probably would have been like 2019 or something. I don't know, 2020. There you go. Like, I don't know, man. I just felt Devin just got it all wrong, and I don't think Ben Davidson, if he was present in that moment, would have allowed that to happen. I think he would have been on Devin and told him, look, get on your bike, box him, and the knockdown will come. Like, if anything, right? And again, I don't want to take anything away. Well, I am going to take things away from Garcia, but I think that fight showed how much Garcia has regressed, rather than sort of like come on, like, he didn't throw many jabs. He didn't throw like every shot he threw was telegraphed. Like there was no sort of variation to what he was doing. Like he would like come out for like 40 seconds, have like a little, I don't know, like throw a couple hooks and then sort of back up with a few combinations, and then he'll go back to doing nothing throughout the whole round. And he did that in round 1, round 7, round 10, and round 11, I believe. So he was active for 40 seconds in about 4 rounds. And Devin didn't do anything, like no adjustments, like nothing to sort of turn the fight in his favor. If anything, I kind of feel like Devin got complacent because he was just sort of going through cruise control. But it's one of those ones where like it probably will, like, I think the loss doesn't hurt, but I think the manner in how he lost will hurt even more.
Yeah, I was talking to Jide about this. It must be harder now, in this era, for a boxer to lose a high-profile fight because of the social media era, where everything's more highlighted, everything's more remembered. You've got those guys that make those edit videos where, like, as I saw one of Devin Haney's one where, the Sonic coins were being beat out of him, and then Mario jumped over him and whatnot. Like, you've got all these videos that come out as well, and like, the losses are more highlighted than obviously they used to be back in the day.
Like it's even weird as well. Like when I was sort of like watching the Tank fight, like Garcia seemed really focused, like really like I think he was aware of Tank's power. Whereas I think in this fight, like Garcia had no regard for Devin's power. Like he would just
run through him.
He would just do it as he pleased. Like Derek James kept telling him, get on a jab, get on a jab. Like he was just like, yeah, okay, come out, and threw hooks and then sort of like backed up with like a 1-2, but then it was just like, I don't know, man. Like you even had his brother in the corner, like passing on information. It's such a mess, like honestly. And I feel like Devin will most probably feel embarrassed, maybe like just because of everything and whatnot. But it's sad because now I think that Devin's got a massive target on his back. Like when fighters lose, I think sometimes like you could say, oh, like he showed a lot of courage, showed a lot of heart. He's a fighter and whatnot. But I think now a lot of people look at Devin and think, that's food for me. That is food.
Yeah.
There's one thing that I noticed, and I think it might be harsh. It depends on the way you take it. I think that obviously no loss on someone's career kind of ages well. Obviously a loss is a loss and that never ages well, but certain losses you can come to more of an acceptance with. Like, for example, those guys who lost to Lennox Lewis when they're early in their career, they're looking back here like, I fought Lennox Lewis, one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. But for Devin, I feel like there's one of those losses, like the Andy Ruiz loss for AJ, where it's like, as time goes on, I feel like he'll look back at this and wonder, how did I let this guy beat me? Or how did I lose this fight to him? Because I'm not saying that Ryan's not good. He's got good skills. He's got the ability to win these fights. It's just Devin's probably thinking, maybe on any other night, I should have won this fight, and I didn't. I didn't produce the goods like AJ would like at that Ruiz night. But that's that's how it is. And for Tank, that those narratives are now coming in where it's like, well, look at kind of this, that Ryan Garcia is a much better fighter, is a much better win. It's a win that's aging well for Tank, 100%. You can't deny that, but we can't also take away from Ryan Garcia, because I feel like he has made some improvements in certain departments. Like, for example, not being naive in boxing, where he was using his lead left hand and keeping it out there in front of Devin Haney's face so he could bait the jab out of him. Now that's illegal because you're not allowed to leave your hand even if your arm's in a punch position, you're not allowed to leave it there in the opponent's face, because unless you've got the bend to it, if it's just straight out there, it's illegal. You're not allowed to do that. But the ref didn't pick it up, and the ref didn't pick up the transgression, so you get away with it. Everyone gets away with it, and he used that to bait Haney's jab. And as soon as he knew Haney was going to jab with it, he hooked off that jab, which is a brilliant weapon that he has. That left hook is really good, and that took away, for me, Haney's offense. So even though in the later parts of that round, after round 1, You had round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5, where Devin Haney was winning those rounds, and it looked like he was going to cruise to a normal decision win. That initial part of his offense, where he's usually very successful, was gone because he couldn't jab properly anymore. And then again in the 7th round, caught him again. But that first round kind of sets the tone. As soon as he landed that first left hook, and you saw how Haney reacted to it, you saw his eyes kind of roll a bit, and he loses shape. It really does set the tone that you could win these rounds, but I'll land that shot and that will keep rattling you and they'll put you down. And it's impressive for Ryan to drop Devin Haney 3 times, considering Haney's never been dropped. We've all had these conversations about his whiskers since the Linares fight, but Lomachenko couldn't test it. Prograis couldn't test it. Kambosos couldn't test it. And Ryan not only tested it, he put him down, 3 times as well. And it could have and should have been more. If Harvey Dock, who had a really bad night that night on both sides, where Ryan was doing the shoulder roll and he was twisting too much, where he's showing his back, he's basically turning his back. And that's where Ryan shows his flaws, like Jide said, because you can't throw the left hook now because you've turned your back completely. So now you've just neutralized your only good weapon in the fight. But then Devin Haney also holding too much, jabbing, then literally straight to holding. And Harvey Dock not mentioning it at all, not picking up, not warning, and then also taking a point off of Ryan Garcia quite quickly. There was no warning, there was no nothing. It was straight away, we're taking a point off you. I think that was very harsh to do against Ryan. So
Ryan's, with all that, Ryan's quite lucky to go away with the win because you got a point taken away. In my opinion, you was losing a lot of those rounds, and you still win the fight, majority of the decision with 2 of the judges' scorecards. You're like 3 rounds up. So to me, it was not that dominant of a win for it to be like that. But yeah, the game's the game, man. He deserved it.
Yeah. And imagine the other narrative, trainer of the year. Who would have thought that after having such a rough, 2023 with all his top guys losing, Jamal Charlo looking rubbish, getting called out, Errol Spence getting called out, Frank Martin looking really rubbish against Hartunian, that it was Ryan Garcia that kind of gets him back in that kind of big wing column, and it gets that confidence back into his camp as well. Because there's a big confidence for him going into that Tank versus Martin fight now.
Yeah.
So that shows you how boxing comes, like just anything can come from anywhere. But for Haney, I think, you got to look back at this and go, this is a loss that it's not going to age well. Everything was against me in terms of the loss. Everything is against me and should be against me. And if people don't rate me now, it's kind of warranted because you can't discredit his last performances and his work before. But like, this was a guy that I don't think he was trolling when it comes to the pre-fight build-up. I think that's genuine. We've seen so many fighters who can drink, like Sergey Kovalev, for example, and yet still come into the ring and look like a killer. And a guy that you called a C-level fighter, well, you lost to a C-level fighter. Now you've got to hold that. You also talking on all of that. You've got to hold it. Like there's no other way to say it.
Yeah.
But this is why we get these type of fights going. It's because when you put all these names, I guarantee you, and I said this to Hari yesterday as well. He agreed that you won't get someone coming out with an undefeated record, and if you do, it's because they are a generational talent. They are, one of the best fighters that we've ever had. If they come out of it unscathed, but guaranteed that you lose. Even Sugar Ray Leonard against the Falkins lost to Duran. Arguably could have lost to Hagler, but still one of the greatest fighters of all time. Because when you put them all against each other, they're bound to come up on a night against a guy that, a style that doesn't work for them. And my belief, and a lot of this belief, is that Ryan showed up, Devin didn't. And this is what happens. This is why we need these type of fights. And this is why I'm so happy with boxing this year, because we're getting these fights and we're getting what we want. And the more we get it, the more we see more of these fighters turn up. Like Tank, for example. Like Jide said, if that was Tank, what a win that would be for him. Like an insane win. Like Tank versus Haney would be such a big fight, and that would be crazy in terms of him beating Haney. Now the value of Tank beating Haney wouldn't be there as much as it would have been before.
If Tank fought Haney like he should have and beat him, I would get off his back. I would be off his back because finally he's fought an elite contemporary. And arguably, I'm not saying he is a pound for pound guy, but arguably a pound for pound fighter. like then Tank being in the top 10 pound for pound will make sense. But you are not trying to fight these guys, but you're now trying to claim the win of a guy you beat. Like, oh, let's go to the club together. Like, is that not weird?
I also think as well, yeah, that Devin stylistically is much easier for Tank than maybe like a Shakur Stevenson. Like, I feel like that matchup would have been.
I don't agree. I feel like Shakur and Devin's style is hell for Tank. For Tank and Tio's. The reason why I say that is, look at the way Tio fought Kambosos. I'm not saying Kambosos is an elite outside fighter, right? He's not. But against Tio, what did he do? He forced Tio to lead, to be the aggressor. Tank, in the fights, Tank's struggling and doesn't look as good. Obviously, he still wins. What happens? He's the one that's been the aggressor. He's the one forcing the action. Whenever you make Tank and Tio are two sides of the same coin. They're both elite counterpunchers. One is an orthodox guy and one is a southpaw. They both have power. If you attack them, they're going to whoop your ass. Anyone who attacks Tank here is going to lose. That's what I'm trying to say when people say I don't rate Tank. I rate Tank. He's an elite counterpuncher. But against a guy he has to attack, he's not as good. I forgot who the guy Tank fought a couple of years ago. He's quite tall and rangy. He stops him eventually, but he looked bad for like the first 5 rounds before he finally lands. Yeah, and he lands the left hand and he stops him. He didn't look good. I think it might have been Pedraza. I'll have to go back and
it might be Barrios when he went up to 140.
It wasn't Barrios. It wasn't Barrios. But he was fighting and Tank was initially was at range. He was fighting at range. It was so much longer than him, and Tank was trying to figure out. I think it might be. I'll find it and I'll send it.
Yes, Cruz. I
remember that fight. It was a couple of years ago, but that was when I was like, oh, okay. And then that guy is not an elite fighter, but I'm like, the guy is 5'4", really small arms. He's quick as lightning. However, to cross that gap is still difficult. And he's a finesse fighter. Finesse fighters don't like doing head down, 2 arms up, having to come in and throw. He's not that guy. So if he's fighting, that's why I've always said a Devin style, a Shakur style. I do agree with you when you say Devin, because he's more vulnerable and he will let you hit him once or twice in the fight. I agree with that, while Shakur probably wouldn't. But stylistically, those kind of guys are hell for Tank, which is why I'm very interested in this Frank Martin fight. Frank Martin is not as good as Devin or Shakur. However, he's also a guy, if he has to, he can fight on the outside. I would like to see if Tank has improved his ability to cut off the ring and do certain things. But yeah, like, this is the sort of fights I want to see Tank in. Because if Tank does it, like whenever people say, oh, Floyd can't fight XYZ fighter, and he goes in and whoops them, you gain a tick in your name, and you gain fans and you narratives. Like, I won't be. What would I be able to say about him? The only thing I've ever asked for from Tank is to fight an elite guy. If he goes and washes Devin, bro, I bow at the feet of Tank. That's what I did with Canelo. I was on to Canelo for years. I was on him for years. I saw you was in the chat them times. I used to cuss him, especially when he did the 154 nonsense and he was blatantly ducking Triple G. I was all sorts of stuff. Canelo with a HOE as a hoe, and I was slandering the hell out of that guy. But he fights Triple G. I still don't agree. I feel like he aged him out, but I accepted he fought him. Then after that, what did my man do? He went and did everything I asked from him. I have nothing. This is why I rate Canelo. I have nothing but respect for him, because you're doing what I want you to do. Which is why it's like when I talk about Tank, I'm disappointed in someone of his ability. You're 30 years old and you've not done anything in the game. You've made the most money, whoop-de-doo. But Devin, who's 25, taking an L now, but I respect him a bit more than you because he's fighting everyone. He's trying to fight everyone. And that's all I wanted from that guy. But anyway, it's not a Tank. It's not a Tank pod, so
it's not. But what you're saying is true, and we saw the same thing with Tio as well when his last fight against Jermaine Ortiz, where Tio was the guy that had to come forward and try and make a fight of it. and arguably he lost. I think he lost personally, and I think we're at a stage now where boxing is picking up a lot of momentum. And as fans, we have to say enough of the theories. Like, I don't want to be matching up guys on theoreticals. I think this guy beats this guy. It's enough now. I think we're at a point where people are starting to get in the mix of things, and we just want to see these fights happen. Tank being the main culprit, get in the fucking mix. You've got so many fights that can be made. You have Tio, you have Haney, Garcia again potentially, Matthias, like so many fighters around that 140 range. Even at 135, Tank versus Lomachenko, I'd still love to see that fight because stylistically, it's a fight where there's so many question marks. I just want to see these fights unravel. And it's time, man. As fans, boxing seems to be going our way, and we just have to put more pressure on these fighters to go do the fights that we want to see.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of want to see Tank versus Shakur, because I feel like that's a very good fight, and the winner of that would definitely get elevated in terms of their stocks and their PR and all of that as well. And it's one of the big fights that kind of, as you talk about the momentum of boxing, it pushes it forward. So, but this was such a crazy kind of fight build up, crazy fight week, and it was a crazy fight to watch as well, to actually, watch it, the 3 knockdowns and how Haney survived and the way it all kind of transpired. And then in the backstage, which I'm going to build into, where, Henry Garcia sees his dad, he sees Eddie Hearn, he's like, F you, he's like, yeah, and talking his shit. And then he's like, well, anyone you've got, he's like, I think he said, what was it? He said, Luke Campbell, Devin Haney, and then he's like, suck it. And then he was like, is that Jaron Ennis, and that shut him up. He's like, no, we're boys, yeah, what you saying? No, boys, we're boys. No. As soon as he had Jaron Ennis, this guy was like, no, let me chat to you. But what do we think for Ryan's next? So obviously, I think one of the main key points is that he did miss the weight. I think that's, for me, kind of what doesn't take away from the performance, but it takes away from the win, because he could have become a world champion, and that would have been his literal crowning moment in boxing. But what's next for him? Because obviously he's never fought at 140 legit. He's never weighed in at 140. So it does seem like maybe 147's on the books for him. What would you like to see next from Ryan Garcia? I'll come to you first, Mark.
He needs to set 140. I'll be honest with you. Like, if he goes to 147, yeah, he is going to get the Sonic coins beaten out of him. Like, he just first and foremost, he needs to get a nutritionist, because there's no way, like, he can make 140. He's just being lazy. Like, he needs to become serious and become disciplined, hire a nutritionist, and get to work, because 147, he is going to get his head cracked open. Like, he just needs to stay away from 147. But I think 140 is his weight division.
So who would you pick? Who would you put him in against them?
At 140. I like to see him against Rolly, I don't know why. I want to see that Rolly fight.
Yeah.
For some reason, I feel like that's a decent matchup, him and Rolly. To be fair, I think, do you know what? Yeah, me saying him and Rolly, yeah, is a reflection of how good I think Garcia is. Like, I don't think he's elite enough to beat like Matthias or someone of that ilk, but someone like Rolly, it's a decent fight, isn't it?
Yeah. But I feel like you can't do Rolly next just because he got beaten so badly against Isaac Cruz that there's no selling power yet.
Okay, yeah. I guess you could go Pitbull Cruz, innit?
He got battered.
I think
so. Pitbull Cruz could be one.
Yeah, Pitbull Cruz.
That's what I would have said. I want to see him versus Cruz.
Yeah, that's what I'll say.
Yeah.
Go to the BBC side of things. Beat Cruz if you can. If he beats Cruz, that's a really credible name. Gets him, and we'll get a Tank rematch, and that will do another $1 million, guys.
I don't want to see a rematch. Not yet. Anyway.
I know.
I'd rather see him try unify with Tio.
Bro, I know we don't. This is not even about, like, we know the game here. If he gets and beats Cruz, he's getting a Tank rematch, 120%.
100%. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm the same, man. I want him to fight Cruz. I know he's not going to fight Matias, just no chance. He's not going to fight Tio. So he's going to, like I said, Rolly, Barrios, them man there. He's probably, that's who Oscar would probably want to put him in. But if Oscar can get him Cruz, that's the fight that will happen next. And that's the fight I'd like to see.
Yeah, the one thing I want to see, because he's at 140, because like I said, if you don't make the weight, and I feel like he was never going to try to make the weight. I think if you come in 3 pounds overweight, you know from a while that you're not going to make that weight.
Yeah,
Conor Benn's a viable option. I think that is a decent fight for him. That if you want to introduce yourself at welterweight and also against a name that people know, especially the UK fans, Conor Benn, especially doing it in the UK, if they can somehow sort out Conor Benn's drug issues, but that's a big issue because obviously he failed those drug tests, so that doesn't work out. But could be Conor Benn, but
Conor Benn sparks him. Like, I'm not Conor Benn's biggest fan, but honestly, he, like, Garcia needs to stay away from 147. Honestly, like, the way his chin's hanging in the air, just stay away from me.
People don't understand, like, 147 pounders are yesteryear's middleweights. And when I say yesteryear, I mean, like, if there wasn't no rehydration nonsense and it was same day weigh-ins, there would be middleweights. There would be 154 pounders middleweights. They will spark him out. They will spark him out. And he's not like he can outbox them because he's not that. So it's a gunslinging fight. And what? Who's he gonna do? Who's he gonna? Bro, I think my man, what's his name? Avanesian probably does him in. And that's what
he walks him down. 100%, he walks him down.
When you think you've had Errol Spence's and Crawford's at 147, like, that is not a division for Ryan Garcia to be going.
Yeah, but when we're not kind of saying go and fight the elite just yet. It's like fight a decent level at 147, introduce yourself, and then see where he looks like. Because you never know, maybe at 147, a fighter like him might look better. You just never know when it comes to the weight and how the weight classes go and how the weight cut goes as well and how they look at that kind of avenue. But with Devin Haney, of course, it's a bit of a weird. I looked at it and it's a bit of a weird thing because he shouldn't hold his title still, because the rules is even if the other guy missed weight and you lost that fight, the belt becomes vacant. But in this case, Maurizio's bending the rules because he knows he needs Devin Haney's money when it comes to the fights and all of that, so he's keeping Devin as champion. I mean, the next fight seems like it's going to be Sandor Martin for the as a mandatory, and I think that's a good fight for him because it's an easier fight than Ryan Garcia. Sandor Martin hasn't got that great pop on him to knock guys clean out, and he's a mover like Devin. It might be a stinkfest for us to watch, but for Devin, it's a good fight to kind of recover your confidence and your ability and everything back in the fight. So, but after that, let's say he does get through Sandor, who would you like? Which champion would you like to see Devin Haney take on next to try get his name back? Jide?
Matias. And they will never do it because Matias can take his head off. But listen, this is where we chase greatness, man, and everyone tries to get onto me. Oh, you're always making it whatever. Listen, he beats Matias. He's right back in there. Right back in there. His name is stock. Everything is right back in there. He can even haggle a Ryan rematch. Because then Ryan will be like, oh, well, I still whooped your ass, but you've cleaned out your division. And then all that will be left to be a Tio fight. Then he's undisputed. Like, right now, Devin has to, that's what I'm saying. Although he's not over for him, he has to now go the hard way back to the top. No one's going to fight him for nothing now. Like, Tio has a reason not to fight him again. They'll be like, you just lost to Ryan. You got a paper belt. Like, all the shit they were saying about him before, they're going to keep... It's all back. It's all back. So he's got to do
champ.
Champ. Yeah, it's all back, bro. Ryan should be champion. You're holding someone else's jockstrap. Like, it's all back. So what he did before when he was the email champ and he had to fight Loma, had to go to Cambosa's backyard and beat him twice. He has to do it again. He has to do it at 140, which is why I'm saying, Matthias, obviously, I don't know if that fight happens. I don't know if they do it. But unfortunately for him, to get his clout back, that's the sort of thing he has to do. So, yeah, that's me.
Adam, yeah, would you agree with that, or?
I totally agree. I think he needs to go ahead with his mandatory and kind of gain a bit of confidence, and then I don't think there's anyone in the division that wants to make that Matthias fight. But if you're going to chase greatness and try get more leverage, you're going to need another belt underneath your waist, and I think it's the fight to make. It should be an easy fight to make because they're both on Matchroom, essentially. I do have a question though. Is the Josh Taylor Catterall fight at 140 still, or is it at 147?
Yeah, it's
so
at 140.
You have those two names there. Is it 147 you said?
140.
140. So you have those two guys there who are still in the mix as well. Maybe a Devin Haney versus Josh Taylor fight, if he comes through that fight, could be quite an exciting one for him to gain some more momentum with. I don't think... I know he looked very bad last fight, and I know he's starting to struggle to make the weight, but I think those are two fighters that you can't really discredit and take out the picture. They could still have a role in the 140 division. Another one in Jermaine Ortiz as well. I know he's a bit of a banana skin where some people would want to avoid because it's a high risk, low reward fight, but he's someone that now has arguably beat Tio. So for him to go and fight someone like that and beat him in convincing fashion, it kind of makes his record look a bit better. So I think there's a plethora of options for Haney after his mandatory.
Mark, who do you think he's got to go against?
Oh man, you know who it is. The Can Man. Anybody can get it. I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't know. To be fair, I don't think anyone would take that Broner fight seriously. But it's got to the point where even he's calling him out. Like it's just so one day you're top of the mountain, next minute you're at the bottom of the pits. Like it's ridiculous. I would say I don't know, man. It's hard. Like take the mandatory fight and then just sort of go back in. I like to see how he reacts to sort of like where he's mentally in it, because he does. It's hard. Like I've never really struck someone that was never really struck me as someone that's proper resolute mentally in it. Like, I feel like he might struggle with his demons. Like I feel like he might shell up in future fights when he gets hit. Like he might be scared to get hit. So it's going to be interesting to see where he is mentally. But yeah, I just say take the mandatory and go from there. See what options are available.
Yeah, but this is one of the great things, like we said about boxing, is now there's so many matchups that seem like they could happen now next, especially because both Ryan and Haney have their.
I've got a name. What about what's his name? Hitchinson. What's his name?
This guy wants me to sleep on a Saturday night, man. Bro, I'll be asleep for that
that's,
night.
That's a decent fight. It's like it's like a good fight. Like
it's a technical fight, but bro, I'm sleeping through that.
He's not gonna get his whiskers tumped off him.
Oh yeah, 100%. Is that Sandor Martin basically? Is that?
Yeah, it's just like a safe fight for him. Like, do you know what I mean? Just like a fight where he can sort of, get his bearings back together.
Yeah, and if you're a newborn parent, you can put your newborn in front of the TV when that fight happens, and they'll go to sleep. They'll sleep quick. They ain't watching that.
Thanks for the advice. I'll be sure to use it, man. Yeah, basically what Mark is saying is when you've gone for a very long time without drawing anything, you start lowering the numbers, and 4 out of 10 looks quite appealing. So I hear. You gotta, yeah.
When
You
you're
gotta
listen, if you got a penalty, it don't matter if you score. It's still a goal. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
goals and goal.
I heard it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of big goals being sort of on the line and on the future, Jaron Ennis decides to switch, come over to the side of on this side of the street, on the other side of the street from PBC, and he signs a multi-fight deal with Matchroom where they're planning to do a homecoming fight for him soon in the summer. And they kind of, they use this fight week to as a kind of media press to kind of push him even further and get more questions out of him. One question that I have about this signing, I'll come to you, Adam, first. Is this one of Eddie Hearn's best signings recently?
Is this? Yeah, I think so. I think we have a potential superstar in Jaron Ennis where he could really carry the torch for American boxing. He's flashy, he's exciting, he has all of the makings of a very exciting fighter, albeit he hasn't had the big fights that his talent deserves. It's definitely a building project for Eddie Hearn. I'm sure he's going to do a phenomenal job, and he has a really exciting fighter to work with. Definitely one of the better signings, and especially with the Saudi connection with Eddie Hearn and Turki Al Sheikh, I'm sure they're going to be cooking up a few mega fights for us with him in the mix.
But to caveat, to kind of play the other side of it, there is that issue of a lot of the top guys in and around the division that he fights at, so 147, 154, you've got, they're all signed on the other side of the street. So you've got obviously Barrios and Stanionis, both going to be full title holders soon at welterweight. They're with the PBC. You've obviously got at 154, but entire division's basically one PBC other than Madrimov. The whole division's PBC fighters. So in terms of getting those bigger fights for him, there could be kind of a problem with that. So there is that side of the argument where it's like, well, he did sign with Matchroom, but he kind of closed off a lot of big fights for himself, considering those kind of names that I've just listed off and how hard it is for Matchroom and PBC to come together because they've never done it before. So Jide, is that going to be a problem with the big fights that Jaron Ennis kind of needs and wants in his career?
No. Earn with Hearn. Earn with Hearn, man. Listen, I'm not these weird guys that gangbang for promotional bodies like these LDBC weirdos and them man there. But Jaron Boots Ennis is in the right side of the street for the first time in his career. Number one, he's not going to get the biggest fights automatically just because he's with Eddie Hearn. No, that's the side plan. That's not the master plan. What Eddie Hearn's going to be able to offer him with Matchroom is activity. So with PBC, there's no fight dates for him. He might fight once this year and that's it. Now he's with Eddie. We might see him out 2 or 3 times this year. So that is one thing he's going to get, activity. And the other thing he's going to get is he's now clicked up with Turki Al Sheikh. He's clicked up with the face of boxing. The man is chasing Terence Bud Crawford, rightfully so. And Terence is like, you bring nothing to the table. You are a dangerous fight where I make no money. That's the truth. Like, I'm a Bud fan, but that is literally why Bud isn't trying to fight him. Bud wants to go and become great, quote unquote, by winning another belt in 154, 4 weight classes, because he knows his resume stacked up to the all-time greats ain't as deep. However, he can close that gap with the accomplishments: 4-weight champion, 4-weight champion, 3-weight undisputed. That sounds amazing. Do you get what I mean? So I feel like that's what Bud is trying to do. However, Turkey, my boy Turks, His Excellency. I don't call another man His Excellency, but Turki Al Sheikh has earned that. He's going to make that fight. He's already come out and said he would like to make Jaron Boots Ennis versus Terence Crawford. And he's financing Terence Crawford's Madrimov's fight. So obviously, they already clicked up. And I'm sure Terence isn't going to be like, oh, well, Turkey, I don't want to fight him. Turkey will be like, bro, you want 20 M's? 30. All right, you know what? Here you go. That's 30 M's to fight this guy. And we're going to see that fight.
The reason I'm laughing in coming in like the Money in the Bank winner, Sams, how are you, bro?
Oh shit! I can't lie. I was thinking, yeah.
I was thinking, what the hell?
Why did you start laughing like that, bro?
Yeah,
It
bro.
wasn't that funny, yeah. But
Yeah,
no,
bro.
The comments like, what? There's nothing here. Like, what am I?
I'm like, what's going on?
We're cashing the money in the bank.
PVC Samps.
I come in like them WWF like surprise announcements, bro. Hey, that is-
Undertaker coming in.
oh man.
No, but yeah, like I was just saying. So now Turkey's gonna finance that fight. So Jaron Ennis is with Matchroom, not because he's like he hates the PBC. He came out and said, "Listen, they helped him to get to where he is." But the main thing about being with Matchroom right now is to get the Terrence fight, and I pray he gets it because that's the fight I want to see. I feel like that's the passing of the guard. If Jaron beats Crawford, which he can, it's amazing. Do you know what I mean? Now we have a superstar that's 26, 27 years old. He can carry the torch for the next 3, 4 years, 5, 6 years. I don't know how long he wants to stay in boxing. But if Bud beats him, then Bud has done what Mayweather did, which was beat everyone in your generation, then beat the next guy. Do you know what I mean? When Mayweather beat Canelo, that was the next guy. So if Bud can beat Boots, who's the next guy, it just makes his resume that much better. So yeah, man, that's why I'm happy with the signing, man.
And you know, it's mad. We start talking about PVC, we start talking about Bud, we start talking about Boots. Sam says Spidey senses start tingling, and this guy just joins the pod. Sam says, good to have you back, bro. How have you been? And what's your kind of thoughts on because we've been discussing about Jaron Ennis signing with Matchroom?
The guy's connection is finished.
I think I said it before, like for
Hotel Wi-Fi, man.
No, he's speaking. Go on.
We can hear you, bro.
Yo, Samson. Yeah, his Wi-Fi is moving crazy, man.
Yo,
Yeah,
hello,
Yeah,
Can you
okay.
hear
hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's what you said. Jaron Ennis sending.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, I'm saying that for any career, it's a good shout. Like I'm not. I know you guys will assume I'll think otherwise, but for Ennis' career, it's a great shout. He's kind of struggled a bit to get names he wanted to fight under PBC, and for his career, joining the bankroll, it's a great shout, man. Like so, big up Matchroom, big up Eddie Hearn. That's a great coup for him. It kind of allows that entry point for that Eddie Hearn's been looking for, where he gets an actual decent champion that can actually make waves within the American market, which he struggled to do with all the other names that he's kind of killed their careers, absolutely just obliterated it. You can go from Andre, who got nothing basically. What's the other guy? Jacobs, who ended up with nothing, and these other guys. But secretly, I'm not all gonna blame Eddie for that, because to a degree, it's their own marketability, which unfortunately drives boxing regardless of your skill. But Ennis is that marquee kind of person that he has the style that can transcend and like grab an audience and not just bore you out with like the other names I kind of mentioned, which is why they didn't really allow her to get that footholding. So it's a great sign. It's a great sign for Eddie Hearn, and I think it marries up well for Ennis as well, because for Ennis, where he struggled with PBC to get those big names to kind of push on, hopefully he gets more activity, and activity kills. If you don't have activity, you're not going to go far in boxing. So with Turkey behind him, what are we calling him again? I can't remember.
Turkey.
Yeah, it's Turkey. Yeah, cool. We've been behind him. The bank's there, man. So hopefully we get the fights that we want to see, and we hopefully get a Crawford versus Ennis in the near future. I was slating Crawford because of who he's trying to fight now. Who no one is in this chat can name apart from the name. But if he's gonna fight Ennis next, then cool.
Yeah, and I think the only person here that doesn't call Turkey is obviously Jide. He calls him His Excellency now, so there's that caveat. But with Jaron Ennis. I want to. This question's kind of to everyone here. Is he the truth, and should Eddie Hearn really? This is the guy. This is the guy that Eddie Hearn needs, especially for Matchroom USA.
It's the truth, man. Sorry, I'm jumping in, but I remember saying he whoops Spence, and certain man in this chat right now with the Wi-Fi problems was saying no way. He beats Spence. I said he beats him. Like eye patch. Jaron Ennis is extremely athletic, and he's extremely big as a 147 pounder. He's gonna run through a lot of them guys because there's not a lot of names there now. We need to see the new crop coming through.
First and foremost, he needs to whoop Conor Ben. That's what he needs to do.
Oh no, that's coming. That's coming. Don't worry.
I think the cash out. I think the cash out is coming soon for Conor Ben.
I'm dying for it. Like,
listen, it's gonna be brutal in London. O2, we're gonna be there. He's
not even allowed. He's not even allowed to fight.
Bro, he's never allowed.
It's gonna be in like Texas somewhere.
Conor Ben's cashing out with Ennis. Like maybe Eddie will give him 3-4 M's. It will go retire in Essex somewhere with his babe, and yeah, man. Like Jaron Ennis is gonna whoop him. He's gonna clean out that division, innit? And then once he's done there, like this is the first since Canelo and AJ. You would say this is the first legit transcendent superstar fighter. I rate Jaron Ennis that much. Like I don't. When he was coming up, like when we had that film with him, Ortiz, and Ben. I always said like he was 2 levels above the rest of them. He was always above the rest of them. It was always comfortably better than them. So now you have this kind of man behind. Like the problem I thought Eddie will have is I think it's a 4-5 fight deal. Is that comes and goes really quickly, and the way the landscape of boxing changes, you never know. In 5 fights, it might be 2 years now or a year, and what's it called? And Matchroom ain't top of the game anymore. Me and myself echo still.
Stamps is coming from your laptop in it, so
yeah, cool.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, what's it called? So so he might miss Jaron Ennis' sweet spot where he's built him up. He's now a superstar, and Turkey's working with everyone. That's one thing I like about Turkey. He's not doing this side, that side. He's like, yo, PBC, I know you man are struggling. You need me. Let me help you out. Queensbury.
Wasn't you saying before that? Wasn't you saying how PBC are too stubborn and whatnot?
Yeah, they literally was. Didn't your boy say them man are going over to that side? They're going over to the Saudis. I'm staying loyal. Wasn't your boy liking them tweets? Your boy was liking them tweets, but now it's gonna be.
I'm not watching anyone's tweets. I don't know.
I'm gonna tell you, your boy, that pro, yeah, was out here. That midget, me and him the same, but he's a midget. Was out here liking tweets about him not folding to Saudi bag, him staying with the black Americans. We're standing strong, man. We're not folding to Saudi. Now he's about to fold because Al Heyman needs the bread. So I hope when he's ready, he says thank you, Turkey Al-Rashid, for blessing my bank account. But anyway,
are you talking about Tank, by the way?
Oh, of course I am. Who else am I going to be talking about?
Tank that's about to fight headline on PBC on the Amazon deal. I don't think that's happening anytime soon, so.
Yeah, but he's got no dates. 14 dates in a year.
What do you mean? It's been anyway.
It's what?
I don't know.
We're in May and he's only had 1 fight. Listen, Turkey is about to make. You know how Al Heyman's only got 14 dates. I know when Turkey goes to Amazon and them man and say, "Yo, you man, chill. Like I got this." They're gonna that.
By the way, I'm not. You keep trying to force this PBC thing on me.
You are though.
Care. I want the fight.
You are, man. Hey, listen. Don't disown your boys. Don't disown your boys now. But anyway, point I'm making is.
I just want the fights, bro.
You don't want the fights. You've been making excuses for them, man. Bro, we were in the chat when you were saying Bod don't deserve the Spence fight because he has shit drip. You said that in the chat.
I did say that.
You said that in the chat. You said that.
I did say that. And this is why you don't do handouts. You gave the guy a handout, and now look at his treating you.
Well, anyway, but yeah, man. So Jaron Ennis will get the fights. Turkey will work with everyone, and it should be a good launch of his career, man.
Yeah, it seems like that's also been talked about, Bud and Ennis, because obviously they asked Turkey Al Sheikh what's the kind of fights that you want to see, and he listed a couple, and obviously Bud versus Ennis was on there. For Ennis's first fight though on Matchroom, it's his homecoming fight, I think, in Philadelphia. They still haven't mentioned a date or anything, but we're getting the idea of that it's in the summer, and it's going to be around that time. And then who do we ideally want to see Jaron Ennis? Because it's going to be his first world title defense as well. I think people forgot that as well, that he's been elevated to IBF champion.
Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
So it's his first world title defense. So who? Obviously, there's the purse bids next week with Cody Crowley. I'm not sure that fight happens because I think Cody's going to go another direction, especially because he's a PBC fighter, but also that he's the French have won one of his purse bids on another with the WBC belt, like the eliminator. So we'll see about that. But if you could choose who would his ideal first opponent or you want to see next in the summer, Adam, who do you want to see Jaron fight next?
Conor Ben, just feed him up. I think they both need to fight. Conor Ben isn't going to be able to fight in the UK anytime soon. He had an absolute snooze fest. His last fight didn't look great. And he keeps calling everyone out. It's clear that he's very desperate and the funds are starting to run out a bit. So I think it makes sense for both fighters. And Ennis needs a big name like that on his record as well. And I think for him to have that as a homecoming fight and for his first title defense, I think it makes sense. And I also think, of course, there's an element of risk, but I don't think stylistically it's going to be too much risk for Ennis. I think Ennis deals with him comfortably. So, yeah.
That's a good fight, and I'll be down especially to watch that. And I think they could definitely in the build that fight well. Sams, who would you like to see Jaron Ennis take on in his first fight?
I can't lie, I'm in total agreement. I think Conor Ben is a type of fight that Eddie Hearn would love to put on for Ennis because it absolutely builds Ennis's name in this market here, and it gives you that storyline and that buzz and all the rest of it. That it's an easy fight on paper. Let's call it a spade. But Hearn has this way of marketing his fighters, where it's a touch, but on for the public perception, it's a good fight. But then the people who watch boxing will tell you, it's a walkthrough. But it's great. It's a great building fight for Ennis to then go on to bigger things such as Crawford. So yeah, I think Conor Ben's the perfect opponent, and just smoke him up as well because but Conor Ben needs to get wiped out anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of Eddie Hearn's way of kind of going, well, I wanted to make you my cash cow, and now it's kind of not working these last 2 years of what you did. I've got Jaron Ennis, let me try and make him a cash cow. So that kind of passing of the torch, if you would say, now it's Jaron's sort of turn to get the limelight and be in the spotlight.
Yeah.
Mark, what would you say for Jaron's next fight?
It's got to be Conor. I've been crushing it in the gym. Ben. Only one person. This guy's, he's been every day. I go onto Twitter and he's calling out someone else. If it's not
posting a picture.
If it's not Barrios, it's. He might even call out Sams. He might even call out Sams. That's how.
You know what? That fight still needs to happen, by the way, bro.
I can't lie. Without the eggs in the system, I fancy my chances. When the eggs started coming, I started looking a bit funny, thinking, I'm not sure anymore. I might actually have 2 kids, but now I'm looking at, man, that work.
He hasn't been hitting the same since he got busted. Listen,
I think it's very apparent.
He is food for
the eggs went out of the system, and also he's punching at Haney.
My goodness. Listen, he needs to get pieced up so quickly, man. I cannot stand this guy. Who decides they want to have implants in their chin, beard implants? It's ridiculous.
A guy got a beard transplant just to start shaving his beard off.
He wants to look intimidating. He wants to look like Wolverine or some shit.
I don't know, man. He just
the funniest bit about Ben. You do realize if he just owned up and didn't do this fight in the drug thing, his ban would be done by now.
Yeah.
What was it? It would have been 2 years? 4?
2 years.
It's been 2 years at least.
It would have been 2. They would have given him a 2-year ban.
He's just he just needs to Eddie just needs to cash it in, and he just needs to sail into the sunset because he's not going to be able to fight anywhere else, and he's not going to get a bigger payday, and no one's going to even want to touch him. Like he's not like hot commodity. He's just trash. He's just trash.
I think there's still 2 fights for him after after this scenario. The thing about him is that he's just been so loud since he got clocked on, whereas a lot of other fighters kind of just disappear and then come back. He's just been wrong and strong, and it's kind of given his image like a bad rep. I do think that after Ennis, there's still one more opportunity for them to cash in on the Chris Eubank fight, potentially. But just get those 2 fights out of the way and then really wipe your hands with him. Personally, that's what I think would be the best business move.
Yeah. Jide, is this a unanimous decision across the board? Or do you agree with Conor?
Yeah, man. Conor Ben, that's the one.
Yeah, it would be a big fight, like you guys said, and hopefully whatever they do announce for Jaron Ennis, that is a big fight, and then we can move on into maybe Terence Crawford next in the year if all things go well. But let's see what they've kind of got next happening for us and what Jaron Ennis' career can really hold, because I feel like he's a guy that everyone's talked about. I think he's got the skills and everything. He really is that guy, but he just hasn't had that kind of name or that win yet, and he's still looking for that. So let's see if Eddie Hearn can really deliver on him, because if he does, he's got a real big star for his American fan base, and that it's someone that can really take that side of the street clear for him. So yeah, I think we covered mostly everything today. I think this is one of the more better episodes that I've been a part of, especially with Sam's joining in as a late Money in the Bank winner. So yeah, it's been a great episode, guys, and this is why these last couple sort of episodes, the last couple months have been so great for boxing, and for us has been so sick to talk about, because we've had so much to talk about, but we could keep going because there's still so much to go on. Like I think this Wednesday you're going to have Crawford versus Madrimov get announced. Tomorrow I think we're going to get
tomorrow's.
Tomorrow we're going to get Chris Billam-Smith versus Riakporhe 2, and I think there's going to be a stacked card underneath that as well in London. Could be a potential Buatsi Yard fight. I don't know. I'm not sure about that, but it might be announced. We never know. And then look, we've got next week, or this week's kind of a stinker because you've got Virgil Ortiz returning, but he's fighting Thomas Delorme, so that's not much to look forward to. But then next week, you've got on Monday, May the 6th, you've got obviously Inoue defending his belt, his undisputed title against Lewis Neri in one of the biggest events of the year. I mean, there's not many guys that are selling out baseball stadiums, 55,000 packed capacity stadiums like Inoue is right now. And then obviously May the 4th, Canelo versus Munguia, which we need to get into as well on PBC and DAZN pay-per-view. Who would have thought that we'd ever be saying PBC X DAZN? But here we go. That boxing's different now. We're getting more of these link-ups now between promotions and networks. So thank you for being on this ride with us. There's so much more to come. There's so many more fights to talk about. There's so much more to go into. So please subscribe, like, comment, share with your friends that you know that like boxing. Give us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcast, sorry. And we'll see you in the next podcast. Take care.
Take care, guys.
Peace.